It's overwhelming sometimes. I mean, the three of us, when we set it up, I think none of us particularly had aspirations to go and work in retail particularly. So the community aspect of it, the talking about running, being passionate about doing something that we all love, and getting to just speak to other people that love the same sport as us all day is such a big part of it.
And I've actually looked at the title of my run, and I put First Rock and Road Run, lovely day, and made feel really welcome. So that was in my title. So I think that says it all, really.
All our runs are supported with a run leader and a tail walker. So our Saturday run, and we have two separate groups on a Sunday. So we have a 90-minute group and a 50-minute group. So right there, you've got 6 people every weekend.
You just get out there, and as you said, times when we are battered by the winds and the rain and the hail, but in the end, again, there's always a warm coffee or tea or whatever at the end of it, and good company. So I think it's beneficial to everybody. For myself and my wife Sylvie, it's been a revelation, really. It's made me enjoy running a lot more than I probably would if you're doing it on your own all the time.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Sportscast Jersey. Today we are joined by Louise, Bailey and Jason Pierre from Rock and Road. How are you both doing?
Yeah, really good. Thanks, Dan.
Good. Yeah, hi Dan. Yeah, hi Lou. Good, thank you.
Good stuff. I always start with the same kind of question, whoever my guests in this case are, and that is, have you always been into your sport since a young age? We'll start with you, Lou.
Not running specifically. I was very lucky as a child that my parents both really encouraged sport of some sort. They got us into swim club because they wanted us to learn to swim, do the usual sports at school. But then as a teenager, didn't really do too much, to be honest. I might have showed my face in the gym once in a while. And I think when I moved to Jersey in my early 20s, after a couple of years, started a bit of running to keep fit. It was always like I was working in financial services at the time. So the banks might enter a little team and get involved in that. So more at that time, dabbled, I'd say. It was more about trying to stay a bit fit and stay in shape than actually having a love for it. That came probably in my 30s.
Yeah, we'll come on to that stage and how you properly got into running and where you are today, both of you. But Jace, what about you? Have you always been into sport growing up?
Sport, yes, but not running. Running, I was a late participant. So yeah, sport-wise, it's been football mainly, since I was old enough to run, basically. And not being able to play football was basically put me into being able to run. That's why I've taken up running as more of a hobby than anything else. So yeah, I was always active during school time, sports days, but football all the time, cricket during the summer, and dabbled a bit in rugby, but they all got a bit too big and brutal, so didn't play that for very long. And then yeah, running really only started when I turned 50. So 5 years ago. Football was getting a bit achy, bones and knees and back and everything like that. It was just not much fun. So as you do, I needed a way to try and keep fit. And yeah, running seemed to be the option.
Yeah, definitely. And for both of you, I guess, do you remember the first time you told yourself to go out there and have a run, go on a run, just as a run rather than as part of any other sport? Do you remember how it felt?
bloody awful, actually. Even as, I think as a teenager, I didn't know anything about it, so I just thought you had to go and run around. It was quite a big block where I used to live, and then feeling defeated because I couldn't run all the way around this big block. That was a very
myself, as I said, for me, it was it must have been because I started training for something, a run, which I think was the Jersey Marathon. I think we might go on to that later, but yeah, so it wasn't something that I would have just done off the back of, oh yeah, I need to carry on doing something. As I said, when I stopped playing football, I thought, well, I need to do something, but I need a goal, a little carrot out there to get me into this sport. So yeah, it would have been just a little plod just to see how I do, really.
Yeah, definitely. We'll come on to your achievements a bit later, both of you, and what you think your biggest achievements have been through running. But I want to touch on Rock and Road, and obviously we're here to talk about Rock and Road and try and promote it a bit more as well, I guess. But where did it all start, Lee? Where did the idea of maybe starting a shop, even the name, where did it all come from?
So Rock and Road, and we'll come on to it later. There's the shop, which is myself, Rick Deluche, and Nick Thorne. The idea came about 3.5 years ago, I think. Rick, at the time, was doing a bit of running. He kind of started doing some Saturday runs and would invite friends just so he had people to run with. And just before that, he'd been living in Canada, in Vancouver. And there were some run groups there, and it was quite social. So I think when he moved back to Jersey at that time, and Nick joined him for a couple of runs, they got chatting about the concept and having a shop where, because there was nowhere really, there's a couple of sports shops in Jersey, but nowhere really that specialises in it, where you could get the best gear, where you could get advice. And somewhere that was social as well, where you could come in and it was non-judgmental, and you could grab a cup of coffee, meet other people that like to talk about running. So yeah, that was about 3 years ago. And obviously shortly after lockdown, I had a chat with them. So we came up with the idea and agreed, well, rather than just talk about it, let's get it open and make it a bit of it's almost like a clubhouse for the run community. And then Rock and Road, it was well, we're all running on the trails, but a bit of road and triathlon, and I don't know, just a few long chats in coffee shops, and the idea of Rock and Road came up, really, kind of as you do, a big long list of some, and you rule some out quickly, and it just seemed to fit.
Yeah, definitely, and it's a great name, and you touched on it there. The shop itself, how good is it? In my notes, I put it's more than just a shop. You go there to buy your trainers and equipment and what have you, but you go there for advice if you need it. You go there for social, to talk to people, like-minded people, like you said. How good is it to have that place now for Jersey, and to see how big it's kind of gone for the running community?
Oh, it's incredible, and it's overwhelming sometimes. I mean, the three of us, when we set it up, I think none of us particularly had aspirations to go and work in retail particularly. So the community aspect of it, the chat, talking about running, being passionate about doing something that we all love, and getting to just speak to other people that love the same sport as us all day is such a big part of it. You can order anything online, but to actually be able to come and try stuff on and speak to people, puts us in a really lucky position that we can speak to suppliers, and we're touching base with the brands, and we can talk to them about what's coming up and actually have a say in what we choose. And then the community has grown out of it. I think initially it was curiosity and growing it and chatting to friends and getting on social media and people come in. And obviously it takes time to get people to trust you that they can genuinely just come in and have a chat about it and ask about what gear they need, or how do they prepare for a race. And especially the people that I think are less confident and see themselves as joggers rather than runners, or some people are so apologetic about their lack of ability. And I'm not, I'm not a competitive runner. I leave that to the boys. So kind of, I think we all bring something different into it. I mean, other than working in finance, I've worked as a personal trainer for, gosh, where are we now? 12, 13 years. So my background was very much at that time in the kind of sports thing.
Yeah.
So actually take that into something that's my own business.
Yeah.
And then the run club came out of that, which has been, God, that's been a runaway success. That's something else again.
Yeah. That was going to be my next point for you. Like, where did that idea come from, and how good is it to see how far it's gone as well?
So as I said, Rick and Nick were kind of running on a Saturday, and that was growing. When we started the shop, we wanted people to come into the shop and meet and go for runs. So we started sort of putting a few more kind of plans and sending out invites. And quite quickly, Rick and I sat down and said we wanted to go with the run club and come up with Rock and Road Runners, and got it off the ground. But we really wanted the club to be for the members and by the members. So that's why we've kind of set it up with its own committee. It's got a team of volunteers. And we wanted the members really to have a say in how the club is run. Because it is, although we share a name and it was our baby, it is very much independent of the shop, rather. And it's just gone, it's gone wild. It's massive. We've got, God, what have we got? We've got about 50, we've got, in the run club now, we've got nearly 90 members. We've got 38 volunteers who help support our runs at the weekend. We've got a committee of like 10. It's just growing, and people throwing their ideas, and
Yeah.
I mean, Jason will tell you, it's just different people, the people we've met through the run club, and people that have got the confidence to come and give it a go. And partnering up with some of the other run groups and the other run clubs.
Yeah.
It's just great. And I love it when people come along and realise that they can have a go and they're not too slow, or, we've got people, a girl joined us last week that's moved to the island 2 weeks ago. For her, it's been such a huge step forward, meeting people that love something that she loves while moving to a new island.
Yeah, exactly. And Jason, as a person who goes to these runs and weekly and enjoys them so much, where did you first hear about it, and do you remember your first run that you went on with them, and how glad are you that you did?
Well, I was actually, once you set this up, I was trying to think, how did I hear about this? And as I said, I would have only been running for a few years. So I looked on good old Strava, as the runners will say. If it's not on Strava, it doesn't count. And I looked, and I started running in February, I think it was 22. I put first Rock and Road Run, and that was a trail run. So that would have been a Saturday morning, 8 o'clock, which was a bit of a shock to me. I wasn't that keen and dedicated a runner at that time. But the good thing is, and I've actually looked at the title of my run, and I put first Rock and Road Run, lovely day, and made to feel really welcome. So that was in my title. So I think that says it all, really. For your first run, wouldn't have known, well, I doubt, maybe one or two people, if that, because I wasn't really into the with the running community. And again, I can't actually recall how I found out about it. Might have been word of mouth or Facebook. I really can't remember. But yeah, decided to take the plunge, and I went with my wife Sylvie, who's also part of the club. So there were two of us, and yeah, as I said, it was a great time, and haven't looked back, really. Saturdays and Sundays, and now they brought in the intervals as well on a Thursday. So, and it is, it's just for anybody and everybody who just wants to get out there and do whatever they need to do. Basically, there's, as we say, they say they can go as fast or as slow as you want. You can run, walk. It is for anybody, and that's the great thing about it. And as Lou said, the numbers, I think, even well, I think from the summer have seemed to have increased, I'd say 2 or 3-fold. So yeah, it's all great.
Yeah, it's amazing. And obviously we touched on it. It's the clues in the name Rock and Road. How good is it to have the trail options as well as just a lot of people only think that running's on the road, but the trail options
Yeah.
are there as well. And how good is that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't know about trails at all. Obviously, as you said, most if you start running, it's you look at road races, you look at the London Marathon, the big marathons, and you don't really see you don't see any trail races televised or anything. And it was only then as well, I think I must have got involved again, like Lou doesn't mind us saying it, but with trail monkeys. And that's one thing about, about Rock and Road, about all the running communities. There isn't a competition thing. The Rock and Road committee or the guys behind it, they put out the races for everybody's races in the next, 6 months. So there's, the Run Club, there's Rock and Road, there's Spartans, the Dole Dash. They'll put everybody's races into a calendar, so everybody knows. There's none of this, oh, if you're not part of us, then we're not interested. And yeah, for the trails part of it, I mean, I like trails because it means you can walk. That's the best part. That's the best part. Sometimes, if you're running, I think that's the pressure if you're road running. I think that's the thing a lot of people, a misconception people have, is that you have to run all the time, even on roads, because it's roads, and no matter how slow you are, they think, oh, well, I've got to keep on running. And that's one thing, obviously, I've learned from talking to people and stuff like that. Even if you're doing just a road race, you don't have to run all the time. And there's all these great initiatives, Couch to 5K and all that. And, especially if you're injured as well, going back and, walk, run it's the best way to get everybody involved. But mixing both up, I think, is really good because, as I said, then you can go as hard as you want and go as slow as you want, or you can do whatever. So, and then for me, again, the trails, you get the opportunity to see the great scenery around here and the coasts. I mean, before I started running, I didn't know there were cliff paths here in Jersey. I've lived here basically 30 years, Didn't know they were runnable. I thought, oh yeah, you could just walk dogs, or I mean, some of the first times I went so close to the cliff paths, I wasn't too happy about it, I must admit, but I've got used to that now.
No, absolutely. Great stories as well. And I want to ask you, Jace, in terms of advice, you were talking about it there. How good has the shop been going to people like Lou and going into the shop for not just equipment but advice? How good has that side been to it?
I must admit, I haven't gone into the shop too much, but I do normally get them when we're running.
Yeah.
So yeah, speaking to Lou, especially Lou about any niggly injuries, and then Rick is mainly about when you're trying to run or what pace or how fast, but that's mainly during the runs, and that's a great thing as well. Obviously, Rick's obviously a very good runner, but during these runs, he'll have time to speak to anybody. He's not precious about getting his times in. Obviously, he's been training for a massive run just done, but he'll still find time to join the runs and have a chat with anybody and give advice. Obviously, lots of people pay good money to give it or to receive this advice, but I know he does plans that he does put out there, but again, as I said, he's not shy on just saying, yeah, you need to work on this, or just think about this, or mixing this up. And so that's the great thing about it. There is no pressure for you to sign up. There's no pressure to be going every week. Even for the volunteers, it is just such a friendly community, and everyone and anyone's welcome. You say you can drop in, drop out, and there's absolutely no pressure, which I think is the best thing about it.
Yeah, definitely. Lou, I want to just touch on the volunteers a bit from your perspective. Yeah. Obviously, they're fantastic to see them getting involved and what have you. But what words do you have for them and their commitment to the runs themselves as well?
Well, we just couldn't do it without them because, I mean, as I said, we've got 38 leaders, volunteers who are on our rota. All our runs are supported with a run leader and a tail walker. So our Saturday run, and we have 2 separate groups on a Sunday. So we have a 90-minute group and a 50-minute group. So right there, you've got 6 people every weekend. And obviously the more volunteers you have, the lighter the load for each of those people. Yeah, you know, I'm running a shop, me, Rick and Nick are running a shop. We can't do all of that. Rock and Road wouldn't exist without the volunteers. Jason's wife Sylvie is a massive part of that, and she's probably one of the first people always to step forward if someone needs to change their slot, manage the rota. You know, we have the run leaders kind of take charge of the route. We do share the route in advance. The tail walkers particularly a huge part, having someone that's always prepared to stay with the slowest runner. We don't care how slow it is. It's like whether they're walking. So, you know, if you just take your turn, you know, as again, people sometimes apologise for being slow. It doesn't matter, you've turned up.
Yeah.
You're enjoying it. Running the committee, I mean, with anything like this, it can be a lot of work involved. But it's just always bringing fresh ideas. Everyone's got a different background. Everyone's got a different part of running that they love. So some people, it might be one of our committee, Lewis, is a keen historian. So he put on a history run tour for our members recently as something a bit different to do. Or we might have fancy dress at Halloween, or do some night running on a Tuesday night. It might be trails, it might be road.
Yeah.
It's like any club. I mean, it's not just the volunteers, to be honest, it's the members as well, because the members, some people might not be able to volunteer regularly, but they still make part of the group. They still make new members or new runners feel welcome. Yeah, that's what makes it a community at the end of the day. And we've got people from other run clubs, as I said, we've got to try and work closely with Jersey Sport, try and give people somewhere that have just started running not to feel too intimidating, because it is intimidating to turn up. So if you've got someone there that you know is there to support, and it's, you know, they're in their high vis best, and you know straight away it's not just a random, you can go and ask that person and it's okay. Yeah, it kind of breaks down some barriers, I think.
Yeah, and for both of you personally, you mentioned it there, it's people from all walks of life, and like some, I'd say maybe you wouldn't have met them if you didn't go running and take part in Rock and Road. And how happy are you that you have met the people that you have met through these runs?
Well, I'll go there first. For me personally, it's the social aspect as well. Obviously, the running is great. After every run, we all go for whoever wants to goes for a coffee and cake or breakfast. So that's when you get to chat to people. That's when you get to know them best really. I must admit, I'm not the best for running and talking. I have to concentrate, otherwise I'll start being out of breath or falling over. But yeah, so for me, it's the accountability. You get out there, you know, actually look forward to, well, most of the time look forward to getting up and being outside at 8 o'clock in the morning. And Rock and Road has a great record throughout the winter of having some wonderful weather. I don't know how they've done it for most of the time, but yeah, I think during the runs you can, and also you'll find people with different speeds as well and paces, so you can sort of latch on to somebody as if to say that's going to be my buddy, even if you're not talking to them, and just be at a comfortable pace. And then that sort of, it does make it easier. You know, for me personally, I find it easier to run with someone than on your own all the time, especially. And again, you know, and then we're doing like the Christmas. We just had the Christmas awards on Saturday, which was a great laugh, and everyone loved it. And then seeing all the pictures that go on of, you know, the socials is all good and everything like that. So yeah, I mean, it's for myself and my wife Sylvie, it's been a revelation really. It's made me enjoy running a lot more than I probably would if you're doing it on your own all the time.
Yeah, amazing. How about you, Lee?
Yeah, and do you know, just tagging on to what Jason's saying, every week there can be different people. I mean, there's some faces that you see more regularly than the others, but you can literally run with a different person every week for several weeks. So you just, and I think it's proven, isn't it, with like walking, and for people with maybe mental health issues, there's something really non-confrontational about walking with someone, and you can just chat, and you know, or if you stay quiet because you're running, it doesn't matter. So it's just a really relaxed way to every week you get to know a little bit more about someone. With the coffee stops afterwards, some people, if they can't make the run, or perhaps they've got a particular training run they need to do, they'll just come for the breakfast afterwards because they miss the social aspect of it.
Yeah.
It definitely gets me up earlier than I would on a Saturday morning otherwise.
Yeah.
It's always a challenge when the alarm goes off, but the minute you get there and you start off with the group, you never regret it. No one's ever regretted turning up, I don't think.
Yeah.
And we've got the intervals as well, which intervals are some of the harder sessions you'll do. But again, we've got people of all abilities. We've got people that are really training to be competitive, people like myself that just want to, keep going with it. A couple of visually impaired runners join us, people that just perhaps have only just started their journey in running, but appreciate, with intervals, a minute's a minute for everybody. It doesn't matter how fast you run that minute.
Yeah.
And there's just something about the shared suffering, I think, that you're in it together.
Yeah. Amazing. And it's amazing to hear the different people that get involved and what you're all doing. And with Rock and Road itself, obviously this is all very social, down to enjoyment, and not saying races aren't, but is there any chance of Rock and Road races being something in the future?
And we've already started, actually. This is year number 3 now for the Rock and Road Festival of the Mile, which is growing every year, actually. So we have the day's made up of several parts, and this year we're going bigger and better. The registration's open. You have the fastest mile, so that's a great one for the speedsters amongst us, but anyone can test themselves over a mile. Based on your mile time, there's then a handicap race, which is probably one of the highlights for me of the day, because you're all handicapped depending on what your fastest mile was. And in theory, everyone should then finish over the line at roughly the same time. So it's a great leveler. We introduced last year the mascot mile. So we had, I'm trying to think who we had. We had the lifeboat, huge mascot running against the police dog. We had a giant heart. Oh my God, you've never seen anything like it. They're trying to do a lap of it. Then the big event is the beer mile. So you have to run a mile while drinking a beer every lap. And then this year we were getting involved. We've got family runs, so it'll be 2 adults, 2 children, each taking on the mile. So that's a huge part of our calendar, actually, the festival. We work with a lot of other events as well. So we try and work with 3D. We try and support the trail monkeys. So a lot of our runners are always volunteering. Park run. We were actually due to do a park run takeover, actually, with all the volunteers. It was the weekend of the hurricane, so unfortunately that didn't happen. A lot of the event organisers will do packet pickup from the shop, so we'll try and support them, and the charities as well, like the hospice, Durrell, and just try and help. There's no way we could put on all the races every year, and there's so many people have got some incredible events on. So if we can try and spread the word and support them, the more run events there are, or the more sports events there are in Jersey, the more it helps our community. It's all about helping each other.
Absolutely.
Saying it's not about them and us. It's like we're all just runners. Yeah. We all just want to go out and enjoy running. It doesn't, whatever club, Jersey Joggers or Hash or Jersey Girls Run, or the Jersey Run Club, Spartans.
Yeah.
The more there are, the better. The more opportunities, the more diversity. We've got a big poster on the shop, on the wall, of all the run clubs that you can go and join. So if people want to come and find out what can I do on a Monday night, it's right there. There's something for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely, and well said. And I obviously run myself a bit, and I'm loving how many races there are on the island at the moment. How many people are getting involved, and seeing people out on the roads just running, and even the trails as well. But for you two, how would you rate the running scene in Jersey at the moment? Obviously, we've talked about the fantastic job you're doing, but overall, what would you say?
It's mind-blowing. Rick's just published last week, or was it the week before, the 2024 race calendar. And there's a phenomenal amount of races available. And they're not all just necessarily races as in the sort of fast concept. The charity events, every month, I mean, some months there's like 8 events on, but every month there's at least 2 or 3 events that you can turn up to. And that's on top of the every weekday run groups, the Rock and Road weekend groups. There is an event to choose practically every week. And then on top of that, you've got the swim run, the triathlon. It's spoiled for choice. You've got the diversity, so you've got the trails, you've got the 5K races, you've got the marathon, you've got half marathons.
Yeah, it's amazing. It is amazing. And the last question for me kind of today, obviously, we just talked about how good it is looking at the moment for runners on the island, but in terms of Rock and Road runners, how much, I'll go to you, Jason, first of all, how much would you encourage someone to get involved and try one out and see if they like it and enjoy the social side, but also enjoy the running with a group?
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I said I haven't done any volunteering, but I'll say that I do put the word out there for everyone I speak to or see. Either, you find out someone at your workplace is training for something or has just started running. Obviously, I think the main thing is from the pandemic. A lot of people were outside a lot more, and a lot of people took up running or outside events like cycling or even just walking. So I think running has become a vital component for people, and people have realised that just being outside is great, and then if it can make you healthier mentally and physically, it's a win-win basically. So yeah, I think it's just a case of just promoting it, and as I've said and Lou said, it's not just the Rock and Road crew. It's you say, okay, well, if you want to enter a short trail race, then Trail Monkeys do 5K races, that you can enter on the series, or you can go all the way going, doing round the rocks and doing, ultras that, for me personally, I think it's great to have a goal. It helps me to have a goal race or something to aim for, because I'm not that dedicated a runner, I must admit. But again, the fact that there are these run clubs, especially the Saturday and Sunday, does help keep you motivated. I mean, the thought of me doing 2 runs on 2 days would have been ridiculous, but with the support of everybody, it's, as Lou said, it is basically a no-brainer. Once you're awake, you smack the alarm and say what you're doing. But once you're out the door and you've got your trainers on, hopefully the right weather, or as they say, what does it say? They say there's no such thing as bad weather, it's just bad clothing. So obviously you make sure you got the right clothing on, and you just get out there, and as you said, times when we are battered by the winds and the rain and the hail, but in the end, again, there's always a warm coffee or tea or whatever at the end of it, and good company. So I think it's a beneficial to everybody, and it's built, as I said, it's like cycling. There's lots of cycle clubs. Lou mentioned like even not the run clubs, but the unofficial, like the Jersey Girls That Run. I doubt they would have happened without the pandemic, and they're all these little independent people, but then they'll still come and join and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it's for myself and my wife Sylvie, it's been great, and I see lots of benefits for it. Lou would know better, but we've got some older people, even older than me, who come along and still get involved, and even with niggly injuries, I said it's still the social bit. You can still go along and just do that. So yeah, I think it's a great group, and as I think the word is community. Really, that's what comes out of it all.
Yeah, definitely.
Just reminded me, Jason, I had a lovely chat with a lady that came into the shop today. She's in her 70s, but she's been involved with Spartans most of her life. And she said she still laces up, she still enjoys it, she still likes being involved in the club. you know, and would I have got chatting to her about it otherwise? Probably not. But so it's nice to meet such different people. But it is the members that make the club. Or well, not even the members, it's the people that run with us. I think a big part of it is you don't have to be a member to run with us. Everyone's welcome. You just turn up. For me, it's a good way to find different parts of the island as well, because we run somewhere different every week. And even the little cafes we stop in, because, you know, we tend to meet we do meet somewhere different every week, but there's always also obviously somewhere to park and somewhere that we can get breakfast. So we have our favourite little coffee shops, and even they've become part of our little community. They take good care of us. They know when we come in. And I think it is because you don't have to be a particular ability. And if someone wants to give it a go, you've really got nothing to lose. I mean, the worst thing is you might have a little walk, and then you don't, you know, if it's not for you, you don't have to go back. But I certainly find, I mean, you don't have to run for 90 minutes. You can run for however long you want, but running for 90 minutes is certainly easier when you've got some company to keep you motivated than just going out my front door on my own to get it done. It just takes your mind off it.
Totally agree. And what I'd say is definitely go for it if you want to get involved, and it's a great place to start. I've never been, but I've always been interested in going, and perhaps one day I will go eventually. But I think it's a great what you're doing, and it's a good place to wrap up, really. So thank you for coming on, and for your time, and good luck for the future as well, both of you.
Thanks, Dan. That was great speaking to you.
Yeah,
Great.
thanks, Dan. Cheers,
See
Lou.
you out for a run soon, yeah?
Yes, definitely, both of you. Sweet. That was another episode of Sportscast Jersey. Thank you for everyone who's watched and listened to this podcast. Another episode is coming soon.